These are not harsh, but penalties are still there. Obviously, if you hunt these animals for some reason, you can be deemed as not guilty due to obviously self-defense, like the tiger case. But you're not supposed to kill these animals, or else you'll have penalties, but in a lesser amount. So this is the striped hyena, and this is a Malabar tree toad, and this is a I think this is an Indian crested porcupine. Now, Schedule 5. Schedule 5 is very interesting, as here the animals in this schedule can be hunted, and they're often called as vermin. So these animals are termed as vermin, are often killed because at some point of time they cause some kind of nuisance, like create human animal conflicts in different regions. Like nilgai is considered pest in a lot of states, and is in the state of Bihar actually. And this is a wild boar which is considered pest in the state of Himachal Pradesh. So in different places, these animals which pose threat to the crops or some kind of nuisance they create, these animals are treated as vermin. Even rhesus macaque is, I think, treated as vermin in Karnataka. Now, so here comes the question: are they vermin or are they victim? Now, as per Section 62 of Wildlife Protection Act, the states can send the list of wild animals, declaring them to be vermin, and can be subjected to a selective slaughter. Now, what does the act actually says? So, as per Section 62, the Wildlife Protection Act of 1972, the states can send a list of wild animals to the center requesting it to declare them vermin for a selective slaughter, and the central government may by notification declare any wild animal other than those specified in the Schedule 1 and Part 2 of Schedule 2 of the law to be vermin for any area for a given period of time. So, except Schedule 1 and Part 2 of Schedule 2, any animal can be declared as vermin at any period of during a given period of time. So, as long as the notification is in force, such animals will be included in Schedule 5, depriving them of any protection from the law. So, union ministers like Maneka Gandhi and conservationists have, criticized this such steps, and obviously, if you slaughter animals like that, there will be decrease in the population, and so there was a drastic decrease in the population of bonded macaques, which reduced to 60% in the span of 1989 to 2009, which is a huge percentage. So, as Meva Singh said, he's a renowned primatologist and a distinguished professor in university. Said that the South Indian monkeys are believed to be highly populated in Karnataka, like I said, and they are considered to be vermin here. And he said, unless we study the long-term population of wild animals, they shouldn't be taking such drastic measures like culling, because these are not going to solve the problem. The problem might be something completely different than the population rise, but at any point of time, I don't think killing animals is fair. So animals, obviously, animals aren't responsible for things like that, because there are several factors like habitat loss, which is responsible for problems like that, because deforestation and lowered green cover in cities is driving animals to move into the crop fields and in human dwelling in search of food. Now, also fall in the predator population like tigers and leopards can increase the population of such animals like nilgai and deer. And drought at several circumstances cause this animal to not get food, so they come out to forage in crop fields and in places where humans dwell. And also, lastly, humans feeding the animals are very much of a problem. So if a tourist offers bananas to the monkey, the monkey starts chasing them and starts asking for more, and this ultimately is a small start to a bigger problem. So according to me, I think center should look for a better scientific approach to solve these issues rather than have them slaughtered collectively. Also, moving to Schedule 6, this is the schedule where a list of plants are listed which are forbidden from cultivation. This is akut, this is red vanda, and this is blue vanda. So these plants are forbidden from cultivation. Then, in conclusion, I would like to say that Wildlife Protection Act is, a very amazing piece of legislation. It has given us many successful projects over the years and brought in many rules and regulation and has created different awareness. So this act grew with time through several amendments that happened and stayed aligned with the need of the hour. Now, it has setting up of special courts for the speedy trials. It can go a long way, but this act has majorly, solved issues of wildlife which has depleted over the years. So, also, I need you to remember that if the biodiversity is harmed, obviously, it will affect us in the long run. So, yes, that brings me to the end of my talk. Here are some references that I took it from. So, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for a wonderful talk. Now we'll take questions from the participants from for both the sessions. I request Dr. Santosh to take over the moderation.
Thank you. Um, so if anybody has questions, you can unmute yourself and ask or type it into the chat box, please. In the meantime, there were two questions that were put forth first. So this question is for Ms. Aranya, the first speaker. The question was, how do we bring awareness about lesser known species?
That's a very interesting question. Thank you. How do we bring in awareness about the less known species? Depends on that. Can you elaborate on your question for me to understand a little better?
Well, I guess that was a student question, so that's all it says.
Okay.
But you have a good point there. I mean,
So also to elaborate, let's take a community. So it is common to have 2 or 3 species that are more dominant, and more other species will be rare. So that is how communities are formed. Like for example, if you look at let's look at your urban biodiversity. For example, you have more crows, more sparrows, but there are a few individuals of some species, and they are naturally rare. So if you have to really give conservation to those naturally rare species, you'll have more species to look into, which makes things a little more complicated. So it's better to look at from a very holistic perspective, including both your common and that's why you have flagship species and keystone species. So that sort of helps in a way.
Thank you. There was another question again. Is this another student question? Is elephant tusks are being used, in trade, etc. And what alternatives can be used to prevent them? I mean, have you found any measures in, for example, what the Indian government is taking to restrict this?
Yeah. So it's a very tricky question. So let's say there are lots. So I think Anukriti also spoke about this. So wildlife. Yeah. So do you want to answer, Anukriti?
No, you can go ahead. I will add on to it if I can. It's a very tricky question, like you said.
Yeah. Okay, so when you look at wildlife trade, so there are 3 participants to it. The lower participants are the ones who are really tribal communities who go about doing the hunting. So, and these people get meager amounts, and the middleman who sort of helps the lower people or the tribal people to transport those goods to the luxury or the traders per se. So these 3 participants act at different scales, and their profits are accordingly different. But when you look at what sort of laws or protection measures are there for these, So the Wildlife Crime Control Bureau, there is one which is also operating in Bangalore. So they sort of try and trace these people and figure out where the wildlife trade is happening and how to catch them. They rather want to look at about the illegal network, the larger network, rather than finding those smaller people who are doing it for subsistence. And if you want to add,
I agree with what you said, but I don't. I think more than finding an alternative, I would rather prefer not using that product altogether. So that I can save the wildlife as a whole. Hello, am I audible?
yeah, I don't know if we answer to the
Yeah,
question. Yeah.
yeah. I think that is all I had to say.
Okay. Well, thank you. There's a couple of more questions. I think this one is a student question directed to Ms. Anukrita. So, after what time periods are the laws renewed and on what basis? Like, and I'll
Uh,
elaborate on this. Has there been a recent
yeah.
amendment?
So laws are amended on a based on the you know there are several intervals through at which laws are amended, and I think the recent amendment was in August 5, 2013, where the bill seeks to amend the Wildlife Protection Act of 1972, which provides protection and conservation of wild animals. Also, it was amended in 2012, and that amendment, I think it banned the use of leg traps, and I think also electrocution of animals were banned. So it is amended on intervals, but not very regularly. It takes I think around 5-7 years to amend the law and bring about new changes. I think, according to me, it should be amended in a little short period of time so that we can keep up with whatever is happening. I hope I answered the question.
Right. Um, okay, a couple of more questions again. What are your views on the plan to reintroduce cheetahs in India?
Uh, I think cheetahs are not found in India, so
Re- right, but there apparently is a plan reintroduce, to reintroduce.
Yeah, maybe I can add on to that. So the cheetah population that they're planning to reintroduce is planned for the northwestern Rajasthan bit. So that bit is actually not, uh, it's not under people usage yet because that is part of the border security force. So one bringing in cheetahs is we don't know what the repercussions are going to be because you're already fighting so many other conflict animals. And two, if they're going to bring them there, then you will want to bring them prey species and it changes the whole system. So I don't know if it's the right way unless we really think ahead and
it's
do
the
it.
right answer. I mean, at any point of time, reintroduction of any species into any habitat can have a lot of repercussions. So, if they are not native to that area, I don't think they should be reintroduced there. Especially recently, I think African cheetahs are supposed to be reintroduced in India, and these can cause a lot of problems. So, yeah, I don't think they should be reintroduced.
Just to add on to that, cheetahs were present in India, and that's thanks to or became extinct in India, and now they are in Africa. Good, both the speakers, what they said is right. To introduce into a predator landscape is problematic. To set the cat among birds kind of approach. One, two. Also within India, there was this talk of the genetic collapse of attributed due to the inbreeding of the Indian Asiatic lions in Gir forest. So the idea of having some translocated or shifted to some forest in Madhya Pradesh. But Madhya Pradesh already is a stronghold of another apex predator, the tiger. So that idea was withdrawn, I believe, because you cannot have two predators occupying the space now. Yes, in the past, all these three were there, dominating with the niche partitioning, spatial distribution, and all. But now, given the forest area that is available, and also the conflicts that are already set in, and the other prey predator dynamics taking into these consideration, it's not a good idea. We got to now hold on to the lion, which is below 1,000, and the tigers, which are 3, 4, 5,000 in number, to protect both these endangered and critically endangered species. I believe the focus should be there on them. Also, to going on to one more question, the student had asked Aranya about how to popularize or make people know about the lesser known species. And I believe the same student is telling, for example, the Gangetic dolphin is not known to the masses, but even a toddler knows kangaroo. Yeah, that is how they take into reaching out to masses. A kangaroo example, marsupial has an value addition. The Gangetic dolphin, yes, again, it is about to what extent wildlife education is inculcated widely. And considering their threatened status also, the awareness programs will have to convey this message to the masses that such an the aquatic animal of India is here, and that the dolphin is not all-time marine known. Here you have a freshwater ecosystem where they can come and they exist. So it's about inculcation of wildlife education down through different sorts of media. It is done. Also, the other end of connecting students, scholars, and people from different walks of the academic subject oriented, no need not be from science, another stream. They also need to be connected to their sources from where they can have this information, the understanding of the wildlife of India. The government is taking every measure. Education system has these part of their curriculum. More needs to be done. The media outreach and awareness among people also to know more about their own wildlife is also necessary. Yes, sir. Dr. Santosh, over to you.
Sorry, I didn't unmute myself. Thank you, Dr. Dehan. There was another point being brought in on the lines of the reintroduction of species. This is actually an example which Darshan Pancharya has put out. This was a recent phenomenon where they reintroduced gray wolves in the Yellowstone National Park. And that had a really huge impact. It was a paper published in Nature as well, where they literally changed to some degree the course of the flow of the river in the thing. Just the introduction of the gray wolves in a matter of 5 years changed the course of this river.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, introduction of any species anywhere can have different repercussions. So we need to be aware what kind of species we're introducing in what areas, and if they are not native to some areas, they should not be introduced there. Like
Right.
even several snake species are introduced in USA, and now they have turned to be major nuisance. So now they are culled openly. So I don't remember the name of the species, but I recently read about it. I completely forgot the name, but so at any point of time when predators are absent, I don't think. Yeah, the Burmese python. Yeah, yes. So at any point of time. When something like these are introduced, they can totally change the whole area. So I don't think they should be introduced like that. They should be introduced only after vigorous research or some kind of thing, so that you know how you can combat anything that comes to you.
That's
Yeah,
true.
and I also want to add that when we're looking at reintroductions, it's also important to keep in mind the community that is already there. Because what happened in Satkosia that they reintroduced two tigers and then the people were not ready for it and then conflict increased and they had to remove. So whether we are really prepared for that as well, is that angle is mostly forgotten, ecological as well as socio-economical. So I stress that we need to both address them equally.
Yes, I agree. Yeah. Which actually brings, I have a question, is to, this relates to, well, how are the laws amended, on what basis? And even what Aranya was talking about, perhaps there's a bit of science is lacking, and there's a miscommunication between science and management. Uh, what are the best triggers that can influence policy shifts, and where do those come from? Does it come from science? Does it come from, say, making awareness? It will obviously be a combination of all of these factors. But in your opinion, what would you think that should be the best triggers?
Right, that's a very interesting question as well. So, if you look at what science people are doing, so what we produce today, the scale of the study, are we really, if that scale of the study, can we really put it out on the ground and say that scale of prediction? So, let's say we do a lab experiment and then we predict it for a 3 square kilometer. Whether that is applicable there is something that we need to think of, and when we are careful, then management people easily pick it up. So the trigger actually comes from the science community, and not so much from the management community, because management people are also looking for doing better things, and if we provide them the right approach, I think that substantiates the whole thing.
Okay,
That's what I think.
that's good to hear. And what sort of, in your experience in research here in India, what sort of push is being made towards such more comprehensive science and science communication?
In sort of, there are so many, especially in Bangalore, you have a lot of communicators, so to say, media communicators who are really translating research work into popular articles and publishing them. I think to name a few, you have Sandhya Shekhar, who also talks to people and then communicates that. So when the management people are reading those papers, they sort of pick it up and then trace it back. So I think that platform is very important. And also we have another set of community who are wildlife enthusiasts, and they are filing RTIs and making sure that conservation is questioned and it's really in the right way that it's supposed to be. So I think it's coming from both the public as well as science community.
Right, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I guess there were no more questions. What about faculty?
That's all. Hi, faculty. Yes, we have to open. There is this question also. CBZ 04 has raised. Introduction can be in both accidental and intentional. True, Anukriti has answered. Either way, it's going to be detrimental to biodiversity. Many times out of fascination, trade, or something that has creeped through these flower or some other agriculture crop. That's the reason you have quarantine measures, the quarantine checks that happen at airports, or the other entry points into a country. So every country will have to ensure that the quarantine checks are proper, that no exotic pest, what you refer to as alien invasive species, make their way into the country. So that's up to quarantine. But the drawback would be whether such quarantines operate within a country like India. So this somewhere in North India can make its way easily to down south. Then again, it is going to spread. So how far are these quarantine checks operational and viable is to be questioned. Uh, yeah, that is the unintentional introductions that happen. Intentional, there are the catfish or the tilapia kind of examples that are introduced into fish farms. So they need to be checked. These fish farmers are involved in aquaculture should be made aware of the negative effects of such alien species when introduced into aquatic ecosystem. Of course, it would be their aquaculture pond, but some way they escape and get into natural ecosystem can wreak havoc. So in that case, they should also be educated of the ill effects of such invasive alien species. I think the firing fight on the chat is all about that, the exotic pet trade. You see, many people's passion does not die down to have these exotic pets. You got to know the norms of what pets you can have and what not. So that awareness also needs to be given to the masses, and there's madness
I
sometimes.
think,
To
sir, one
yeah,
of the reasons, these pet trades are there because they want to, rise to a level of status and show off. So even
yes,
huskies are, bred in India, which is,
yeah,
I think, really wrong. I don't know why people do that. It's really wrong. I mean, also, and that's why, they are traded. And the worst thing that I have recently seen is that this lorises, they take their canines out since they have long canines. They take their canines out and without any anesthetic, and I think that is very brutal. So I think at any point of time, pet trade should be abolished.
true.
Yeah, but the good news there is recently there's been a policy level change as well. So whatever exotic animals that we are importing from outside are being regulated. So the chief wildlife warden of the state has to approve if any personal man or a woman wants to take or import any exotic trait, which was not there earlier. So that's we are seeing good moves, and I think we're hopefully getting there.
Okay, there's been a lot of comments on the comment box, but not many major questions. And um, so, Dr. Jay Shankar, do you want to take over?
Exactly. So I think there are no more questions coming, other than somebody is worried should he or she have huskies in India. That's another question. We once had this pet show organized from National Science Association in 2008 or 7, and we had people getting even the huskies, and how special space had to be made in the college quadrangle with fan and other effects. So it just I just remembered that. Okay, if there are no questions, then it's time for the vote of thanks. I believe the organizers, the volunteers will also post the attendance link onto the chat box so that people can mark in their attendance, because only on ensuring that their presence is there on all 3 days, they are going to get the certificate. Otherwise, also, it's not a loss. They have gained knowledge if they have attended any of these days. Somebody is raising hand, can go ahead. 3007 on behalf of Dr. Santosh. I took that question. Nobody, then Chandana, you can proceed.
Now I request Tressa to deliver the vote of thanks.
On behalf of Natural Science Association, Department of Zoology, and St. Joseph's College Autonomous, it is indeed my immense pleasure to extend my heartfelt gratitude to our speakers for today, Ms. Aranya Gayatri and Ms. Anukriti Shaw, for sparing your precious time and imparting us with your knowledge. I extend my gratitude to Professor Dr. Jaishankar M., mentor and the soul of Natural Science Association, without whom this event wouldn't have been possible. Thank you, sir. I thank all the participants present here for being a part of today's event. And last but not the least, a big thank you to the volunteers of Natural Science Association in joining and making this event a successful one. Thank you all. Have a good day.
Link for the attendance is posted. All of you, please fill in the attendance form. All the participants, please. Thank you. And it will be open only till 5:30. I am told by the president, Mr. Balaji. He's being meticulously working behind the screen in charge of the live streaming on YouTube. Thank you, Balaji, and all the volunteers of NSA. Okay, few more minutes to keep you uh, to click the attendance form, and another 2-3 minutes we will close the session.